Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo. It is Monday, and I am here for Retro Monday OVAdrive. We finished off the Yotoden. Unfortunately, I lost some of the video footage for it, but the video should be up, and we are going to move on to what might be the absolute perfect mid-1980s released on VHS OVA series where you would go into like a Blockbuster and they might just happen to have the copy of this thing sitting on the shelf. You might go, oh, that seems like a cool thing from a foreign land far away with interesting storytelling like I've never seen before and cool characters with giant hair and mechas and girls and wow. And you might grab this off the shelf and give it a watch at home and become absolutely anime obsessed for the rest of your insane life. That show being Tatakae Iczer 1, Act 1. We're going to watch the first episode of Iczer 1, or Fight Iczer 1. I've seen a number of titles for this. This came out in 1985 on the dot, based off of a manga released in 1983. There are 3 episodes. They came out with 1 year in between, so they are 1985, 1986, and 1987 for episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Tatakae Iczer 1. And then they got folded together into a movie at some later date in the future, sort of similar to what they did with Yotoden. We're going to watch the individual episodes because that's all I can handle at one time. I will say I almost didn't start recording today because I'm quite quite snurfly. I'm under some kind of allergy attack. Summer is springing and spring is sprung and flowers are going pop and creating lots of pollen that inundates the atmosphere and destroys my sinuses. So rough. I've decided that I'm going to do it anyway because it would ruin my existence and my check marks and my checked off boxes if I took a break or didn't record for a day. So I'm going to record no matter what. And this will be the result. Forgive me if I end up snurfly during this. I'm looking forward to big hair, anime girls, insane shit, weird 80s storytelling, weird 80s ideas about what the science future fiction fantasy land might look like. Maybe odd sexuality or like forward sexuality. I am aware that this was originally released as a manga in Lemon People, which is not Cream Lemon, but it's Lemon People, and it's a relatively ecchi magazine, so there might be some stuff in here that might be a little weird. And there might be some ideas in here that are a little bit dated, given that this is a show from 42 years ago. Wow, it is actually 42 years. From 42 years ago. So that should be interesting. I've been recommended to watch Iczer 1 a lot. Part of that, I think, is because I've expressed an interest in, like, magical girl shows and Mahou Shoujo, and things that cross over Mahou Shoujo and mecha style things, fighting girls, stuff like that, Symphogear, things like that, and Iczer 1 often comes up in conversation around that kind of stuff. But it also comes up as an inspirational, thing for 2 sort of separate lineages that are also kind of mixed. For mecha as a whole and mecha ideation, it seems to fit into that landscape in a way, and I don't know how, but we'll see, and that'll be very useful because I love ideas around the mecha landscape and around the sort of evolution that we've had over the last 60, 70 years of the idea of what a mecha is, of the idea of what an individual main character, protagonist, or deuteragonist is as a human being or alien or whatever. I think there are aliens in this one, who makes decisions for themselves, who's able to like get into an embodied variant of self, which is a mecha, and then use that to influence the world in a more powerful way than they would be able to otherwise. And there are often some obstacles in the way of getting inside the mecha, like Evangelion synchronization, for example, or the ability to work with somebody else in particular. Those kinds of things. If you can't do those, then you can't pilot the mecha. And that's relevant and I think makes sense to the ideas around understanding your own body, being able to be embodied, as well as being able to take a place in society, take a place in relationships, in friendships, in communicative experiences, stuff like that. And I want to see if we get any of that evolving out of this context. I don't expect that it'll be very deep, but you don't have to be very deep to get really old or really good or really deep ideas into your show. In fact, sometimes the shallowest, simplest shows contain the deepest, most resonant, potent ideas. It's one of the reasons that I always end up coming back to simple shonen or simple storytelling, is because it's often very straight to the point and right on, and really extracts out the crucial element of experience, and is like, all of these other things don't really matter. All of the decision making doesn't really matter. All of the choices that you might make and the ways you might go don't really matter. What's important is that you find a direction, consider it worthwhile, and go for it, and then keep going for it. That's like the kind of extracted idea that Shonen often takes out and puts forward, and that's really useful. So we'll see, looking back in time by 40 years, which is what we kind of get to do here. It's one of the amazing things about media, and one of the amazing things about what I get to do here, and what you get to do, and what any of us get to do as viewers and let's call it inheritors of the grand lineage of narrative tradition that goes behind us, is we can hop in a time capsule and jump back 40 years and see how people were thinking and ideating and imagining and coming up with characters and designing things and looking at the world. And when it comes to anime, with film, you go back 40 years and you're looking at what people were able to actually put on camera, right? What people were actually able to see. You're literally looking through a camera into the way the physical world was at that period of time, minus some editing magic and some miniature stuff and stuff like that. But the ability to be imaginative in film is one thing. The ability to be imaginative in animation is another entirely, because the limitations are almost nil. If you can fit it on a two-dimensional screen, if you can draw it, you can make it real. And coming in the 80s and beyond, obviously before this too, there is a wealth of artistic endeavor pointed at making things become real in 2 dimensions, making things become animated and believable and interesting. And that allows for a lot of sci-fi ideation, a lot of character ideation, a lot of world and technological ideation, and all sorts of crazy ideas about reality that have nothing to do with reality at all, and everything to do with fiction and fantasy and thoughts and ideas. And when we travel back in time in our little time capsule, when we pull up an anime from 40 years ago, what we are doing in many ways is looking through the eyes of the people who lived at that time. That's just fascinating and incredibly inspiring to me, and extremely interesting. And you could say that to some extent you do the same thing when you read novels from 200 years ago, or watch films from 300 years. Well, no, that doesn't exist. Watch films from 80 years ago or 100 years ago. But something about the anime stuff feels different, and it really feels like an ability to travel back in time a little bit. So hop into the time machine with me. Let's go back 40 years and watch ourselves Tatakae Iczer 1 Act 1, the first episode of this weird sci-fi alien thing. Expectations beyond big hair, aliens, maybe weird social norms where we'd be like, wow, they put that in an anime? And it's like, yeah, of course they did. They didn't have any compunctions against doing that 40 years ago, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that I expect. I expect some fumbling, like some weird ideas that don't quite click with the rest of the lineages, because there's nothing to build off of. This is earlier, and there's still 30, 40 years of history of anime before this comes out, but we're right in the middle of the big 1980s shiftification in anime, where things get really swapped up and really start to change dramatically. Although I think a lot of those changes happen toward the late 80s. I'm not versed enough to know anything about anything. I'm excited to see the show. I'm excited to have a good time with it. And I'm excited to see over the longer term whether any of the ideas presented in Iczer 1 percolate out and influence the way that I watch other shows as we go ahead. So what I mean is seeing cuts in other shows and being like, wow, that's a thing from Iczer. Or seeing sequences and being like, wow, that's really similar in storytelling to the way that they did the thing in Iczer. Or we might do that as we go, and it'll be harder to do this, and I'll try to keep it in mind. But as we go and watch through Iczer, I might have moments where I'm like, wow, that's the exact same sort of dynamic that was present between Hibiki Tachibana and Yukine Chris. Like, oh shit, that's interesting. That would be really cool to be able to sort of backwards understand things, or understand things in reverse by putting them in context, by seeing the context here, by watching Iczer. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Should be fun. Um, I am 100% sure that there are a bunch of people working on Tatakae Iczer 1 who I don't know about, who are super interesting and have had echoing, rippling ramifications on the anime industry. Two of them are Masami Obari, who does the mechanical design, and Toshiki or Toshiyuki Toshihiro, sorry. It's Toshiki or Toshihiro. Both come up as names for him, so I'm uncertain why. Hirano, who directed the dang thing and has also done a lot of other direction all over the place, including the recent Baki series and all sorts of other stuff. Ray Earth, Magic Knight Ray Earth, and all sorts of other stuff in the past. So there's going to be a lot of that. Those are the only ones that I'm going to recognize right off the bat, and I haven't done enough research to like really dive into the people behind the scenes making this happen, because I didn't want to spoil myself on the whole thing as we go through. If you would like to provide me with any information regarding Iczer 1 before next week or after or whatever, I'd love it. I'd love it. Give me the context. Give me the information. Write me big essays, and I'll probably read them out come next episode and talk through that information so that we make it a part of the experience and a part of the videos as we move forward. So please, 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 if you happen to have secret, hidden knowledge about the history and the legends and the humans and the people and the ideas present in a show like this, please, please, please put them in the comments. More than I want subscriptions and likes on the video, far more than I want any of that stuff, more than I want patron subscribers or anything like that, I would like comments on this video, because I think that Iczer 1 is probably somewhat important, at least given how many times it's been recommended to me. I think it's somewhat important, and I'd like to have a little bit more context generated in the context of my in the sequence or the series of my watching it, in order to understand it better and use it as a branching off point to understand the whole anime industry at present and in the past much better. So please contribute that. I would thank you. The other things are nice too. If you want to like the video and drop other comments about how great OVAdrive is, that would be super dope too. And if you want to support the channel on Patreon, I'm not going to complain. But my big priority is comments about Iczer 1, about the people working on it, about the studio, about the individuals, about the direction, about the storyboarding, about any stories about it, any ideas, any interviews, any history, any reminiscences, any like conversations that the artists and authors and creators had later, any mentions of it where people have said, yeah, you know, I was really inspired by Iczer, and that's part of the reason I went and I created this show. That would help me immensely. I'd really like that stuff. So, all that being thrown out there, we're gonna actually watch the thing. So we've got 26 minutes for this first episode. I think they vary by a few minutes, but mostly they'll be in that 20 to 30 minute range. I downloaded the SXAils version of Tatakae Iczer 1. I think there were a couple of versions. I hope that I grabbed the right one. If I didn't, let me know. But this is what we've got for now, and we're gonna go with it. Because just like in the olden days of Block Busters, you walk in and you get what's on the shelf, and you don't know which encoding it is, or which copy it is, or whether it was the laser disc, or the Blu-ray disc, or the VHS tape, or where the copy got chopped from, or who did the sub. You don't know. You get the one copy that's on the shelf, and you hope that it's not out of stock, and you go with what you got. So we've got what we've got, and we're going to watch the first episode, and it's going to be freaking great. It's going to be gureto. I think that's everything that I want to say here at the beginning. Let me preemptively blow my nose, and then we will get on into it. All right, that's about as good as it gets. Let's go ahead and watch ourselves episode 1 of Tatakae Iczer 1. Gosh, I wonder what the soundscape is going to be like. I wonder what the color scheme is going to be like. I wonder how I'm going to feel about the characters here. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, Iczer 1, Episode 1, Act 1, up and ready to go. There will be 2 versions, picture-in-picture version with the video up in the corner, linked down there in the description, timer-based version up on YouTube. Beep beep timer to count you down. Let's get to it. Dark city streets. That boy, oh, shit. Okay, immediately an interesting shading style. Got a couple layers there. Hi. Hot. Oh! What the fuck? Oh! Reminds me almost of scenes from, like, Cyber City OEDO? The Dark City, and then... Aliens! Sepia. Oh, these are bad people. Oh, these are nude bad people. The Bedems are taking care of that right now. Hot. Oh, hot. Oh. Sa Violeto. Oh. This is cool. This is cool. They've all got, like, yin yang, white black. I love the, like, eyeshadow and designs and stuff. And I love the little underlip darknesses. Those things. Ixawanga! So the Bedems are the weird monster thing. Oh! A partner? So is Iczer one the blonde? Ah! This is rad. I love it. Simple evil villain people. Wait, are they hiding behind the moon? What am I looking at? I'm looking at the shell of a planet? Yeah. They've, like, built a living space in the shell of a planet. I'll bet that was hand done. That whole digital grain sequence in the background there. All right, are we meeting Toast Girl? Are you gonna run around with Toast? Oh, she's getting vibes already. So this must be the partner. Blue and yellow. Great. Immediate likability. Demonstrates flawedness. Getting up too late. Hidoy mama. Oh. These are great parents. They're gonna get exploded into squid people. Or something. Just give me Toast. Alright, she's out. Classic. No Toast! Little symbol thing. Oh, hi! Just a person chilling in a latex suit by the road. Yeah, weird. Huh. Elf ears. Hare? Inai. Okay, cute. I like the hairstyle. Odd. I mean, it's classic 80s big hair, but it's got a little bit more to it. Weird fisheye. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's super weird. Holy crap, what is happening? Oh, I'm excited. Suddenly interesting. That's great, messing with the unexpected. Oh! Oh, what? Oh, hi. You want some? So those are Benims, huh? Wow. Oh yeah, you're just freaking out in the middle of... Sorry, I wasn't joking. The lady in front of me, her head just exploded and turned into a weird tentacle monster that tried to eat my face. I'm trying really hard. Neboketeta? Oh, this is fun. All the wibbly things happening. This reminds me of so many other things. It reminds me of, like, Paranoia Agent. Like, no, I don't believe that anything weird is going on. Her voice actor is great. Yeah, no, sir. Blah, blah, blah. Ah! Ah! Oh my god. Oh my god. What a fun horror sequence. Wow, over the edge. Can we get an Iczer save? Thank you. Wee 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 wee. You idiot. Jumping off buildings. Has all her class been actually swapped with bad guys? What's up? I'm your kinky friend. Yeah. Yeah. Person in full bondage gear just saves you out of nowhere. You get freaked out. Damn, she is. It's a good depiction of a freaked out run. You can't get away. Ah! Oh, that's great. That's great. What a fun... Ah! You're in non-Euclidean space and there are monsters everywhere. Awesome. Oh! You're gonna get sued. Very sexual in design. Lots of genitalia-esque pieces. Oh, God. Yeah, right. Yeah, what the fuck? Hello, human. What is that? What is that expression? I'm so happy that you're having a bad time. Oh my god. Big god, though. The giant eyes are creepy. There's so many good creepy elements. The weird little screams are apparently how it communicates? Oh, that's great. Such cool, inexplicable, freaky aliens. Awesome. Hey, Savisu. Aliens in the bath. Family in the aliens. Fuck. Oh, so Iczer returned you home. Cool. Oh, I'm terrified. I love the little white patches for the lips, for the shiny. And the little darkness underneath, too. I really like the style of lips that they draw here. I'm gonna steal a lot of it. Oh, gosh, we're back into this space. Is that Cobalto? Whoa. Whoa, where are your parents? Where are your parents? Wait, this is exactly the same. I hope that it's fine. I'm so scared. Ah! Oh, God, it got me. Oh, that really got me. Ho! Holy shit, that was good. That is the best jump scare I've experienced in months. Wow. Ho, 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 ho. Oh my God, that got me. I don't even know how it got me. So at the same time, Iczer is getting beaten down. Oh, gross. Nice. Hey, that's that dude from Redline. Dude, your papa and mama are goop monsters now. Oh my God. She's unable to do anything against this thing. What the fuck? That was very cool. Cool rotation. No luck. It's like what's happening to one is happening to the other? Is that what's up? Oh. Yeah, very hypersexual. Like, that's the threat. Super awesome gross. Super awesome gross. That sequence was great. Wow. Ah, yep. Threat. Oh, gross. Ugh. Oh, and the picture has changed too to be more sexual. Ugh. Thank you. Dead! Nice. The fact that they've got, like, a kind of a cute relationship, I don't know, it's almost nice. It's almost nice. She's gonna get dead, and she's gonna get super freak out mega pissed. That's my prediction. Cobalto is gonna get killed by Iczer, and that one's gonna turn into just an absolute destructo monster. Let Nagisa go! Voice acting, guys. Jesus. Am I okay? No! My parents just turned into squid monsters and tried to rape my face. Oh, did the painting go back to being a... Yeah. Oh! There's no hope. Awesome. Great. It's just over. Oh, wow. It's her fault. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks too. That seems reasonable. I don't want a fucking mission. Give me back my parents. All right, landing. Oh, hey, there's that's the character from Wow. Rad. Rad. Yes, great. I swear that the main character from Akira was there in that scene just a second ago. We have to transform. Well, we're gone. Will do. Is that Fuji-san? What is this? What is this? Is this the SDF's special weapon? It's got a drill on the front. What's up with that? Oh, shit. This is a very cool plane thing. Who is launching it? Must be Earth. Must be us. Very kaiju movie-esque. Oh, there he is. It's Fuji-1. Fuji-san. Giant drill plane. Wow, they are goofy looking. They are all dead. They are all so... Wow, that explosion is gorgeous. Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Well, hell. We are the world. Yeah, call Iczer. Yeah, fight with her. Because we have to combine through loving Ecchi and Yuri powers. The whole universe shakes. Ah. Call Iczer. Oh, very cool. Like out of a dimension? That's rad. Please climb inside me. Big refusal. You have no choice. Wow, that takes away from it a lot. Oh, okay. Hot, weird. I don't want to. She does not want to. I do not want to. Okay. So consent is not a big part of this at all. That's fine. Often the first time is tough. I mean, getting in a robot. Get your mind out of the gutter. Again, some Kanada style stuff. Oh, great. Yeah, classic. Smash through the office buildings. So will Nagisa have to make the choice to actually fight with in order to overcome this? Because we're on the back foot. Iczer hasn't been able to hold it on her own. Remember your parents, Nagisa! Well, I see some inspiration here. I don't wanna. Yeah, let me just sit in this chair and be sad. Oh, she's into it. All right, let's go. We show it in the center there. Yeah, there's a face. Yurusanai. Rarg. Project Eiko Bubblegum Crisis, which is Obari who's working on this. Oh, wow. Buster reminiscent, but not as well ideated. Still though. And a return of clothing, please. Aww. Now she's gonna be enraged. Let's go. Kawaii Sona Seppi. God, he's so creepy. He, it, they, I don't fucking know. I don't mean to assume that weird androgynous creature's gender. Yeah, you're homeless now. And an orphan. Your parents turned into fucking tentacle monsters. Ah! Oh, that's so good. We've got a setup. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a setup for the future. Kambare Tatakae Iczer 1. Wow, we actually use it as the thing that we say at the end? That's great. Maybe we'll get this song with some animation in the next episode as like an OP. Maybe not. Maybe there isn't an OP sort of thing. This feels like one though. That was fun. Some really cool sequences. So also some pretty boring sequences, to be totally honest. I expect that we'll get over these 3 episodes, we'll get Nagisa turning from a reluctant protagonist into a believing protagonist, sort of thing. Definitely some Yuri ecchi overtones. Certainly with the Cobalt and Sepia. So they're color named, right? I don't have any idea on the naming of Iczer 1. Doesn't mean anything to me. If I can get through these lonely nights, I'll be able to sleep with you. All right, and that's the end of the first episode of Tatakae! Iczer 1! I thought it was a blast. That was very fun. I didn't expect the horror of it to actually get me. Usually I kind of just giggle at the horrifying monstrosities that get presented in 80s anime. There's one scene in this episode that actually got me to my, like, spinal reflexes, my, like, my jumpiness, and that's the mom turning around, and I expected it, too. Really cool, and I want to go see that scene again, because I'm curious how they did that, and how they made me, even as I'm sitting there waiting for it to occur, they managed to get me to jump. They managed to get the wibblies out of me, and that's, I'm not, like, the strongest person in the world when it comes to spooky stuff. I don't love horror films, but it's not the easiest to get me to really unconsciously wibble, and that wibbled me. Sorry for using a weird word. I always use wibblies for, like, feelings that I can't express. It's like flaming shark with potato. That got me the wibblies. I really like the introductory style, the shading style. I do wonder if these copies are filtered in any way, because the colors look very solid to me, and often in olden codes there'll be graininess or grittiness, so I wonder if they've been denoised and if that's contributing to any of the style here. But I really like the style. I really like the way that the shading and shadows on the characters look, and I mentioned it a couple times throughout. As we move forward a little bit further, I actually really like the designs of the characters. They're sort of how do I express this? They're blocks of color, and the blocks of color are what make up the character's design. So block of color around the eyes, block of color around the hair, blocks of color to generate the form of the lips and stuff like that. It's animating like in a painterly sort of way, or in a sculptorly sort of way. It reminds me of a book or a series called Paint Like a Sculptor, where the idea is that you're using chunks of color to create planes or three-dimensional aspects or chunks of stuff in order to generate a three-dimensional aspect to your painting, as opposed to trying to paint what's there as though it were flat, because things aren't flat. And so it ends up being, for how flat it is and for how blocky all of the character designs and the color work is, it ends up being very high dimension for how blocky it is. Does that make sense? Like, despite its blockiness, it ends up being very 3D and very nice looking, and I really like that. I'm gonna try to avoid getting any accidental nipple reveals in here, because I don't want to have to go through and cut those out exactly. Character designs, man, it's amazing what just a little bit of weirdness does to you. You put some breasts on a character, give them eyes that are too big, a male voice, and a feminine set of facial features, and you get wibblies from me. That's weird. It just ends up being weird. It ends up being a strange set of contrasts. And then, not even to mention the weird freaking mask creatures that are there. As like this weird council of creepy monster things. Really, I think really nice, actually. I think this is really nice and spooky. They're like Scream masks from the movie Scream. They're like Scream masks. The eyeball in the center is weird. Something about the big yellow red eyes makes me think McDonald's, and that makes me think of Ronald McDonald, who I've personally always found really creepy. The whole thing, they're real creepy. They're like Raggedy Andy dolls wearing yin-yang, like chocolatey eclairs, like black and white cookies and whatnot. They're so weird. It's so alien that it's perfect. That it's kind of just perfect. I could have never thought of anything quite as weird and alien as this, and that's what tracks for me as alien. This actually works better for me than the actual monsters that we see in a lot of cases, because the actual monsters that we see are just like, it's a creepy tentacle monster. You've seen it a dozen times. Raggedy Andy wearing a Scream mask with an eyeball mouth. Never seen anything like that in my life. Never seen anything like that in my entire existence. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. And it does the fucked up to me. It makes me wibbly. And I like it. I like it a lot. I've got questions about this whole space station thing. I'm not going to formulate them as actual specific questions. Just, that's cool. What a cool thing. So, again, to put myself in a time capsule, jump back to the 80s. That's new to me. I've never seen anything like that in the 80s. I've never seen anything like the idea of a partially shattered planet held together by weird strings with like a weird heart thing in the center that's almost biological, all holding together this like partial shell of a planetscape. It evokes so many ideas, so many questions. It's like, well, was this their planet and they destroyed it and that's the reason they're doing all of this? And they've rebuilt a cityscape on the inside of the thing? Or did they evolve on this sort of a landscape and this is what they're used to and where they came from? Or like, what is this? The idea that I get is this is these creatures, this species or group or alien organization or society or whatever the fuck it is a repeat offender of planet destroyers. Like they unconsciously, they take over a planet and then they destroy it. They hollow it out for their own material purposes or whatever, and greed and lust and whatever bullshit evilness that they get into. And then they go off to find the new one and turn that into another horrifying space station filled with alien tentacle monsters that can go and invade other lands. Rad. None of that actually gets explained in the show. None of it really needs to, because it doesn't actually matter. But it sets me working. The presence of novel ideas represented visually sets my brain in motion. It sets me thinking about possibilities. It sets me thinking about fictional landscapes, about potential, about questions and answers, and what might be a justification or a reasoning behind the way that the things are represented in the show. And I think lots of arguments, you can imagine lots of otaku arguments about this, like people sitting around being like, no, it must be that they're actually a race of people who evolved on a shell world on the inside of a planet space, and that's why they're so weird. And one person's like, no, they must have been normal people who destroyed their planet and through their evil generated themselves as this race of weird creatures that are going across the galaxy searching for new homes because they destroy their old homes all the time, or whatever it is. I can imagine otaku sitting around arguing about this for 20 years. And from those arguments, ideas like, no, it really bothers me the way that Nagisa doesn't want to fight at first, right? And I'm really compelled by this transition that Nagisa goes through, where she at first is terrified and doesn't want to step into the role that she's obviously needs to. We've represented it as, you're the only one I can merge with. I chose you. Sorry, but now you're stuck in this decision point where what you could do is say no, and then everybody dies. Or you could say yes to the dress, put on the mobile suit, and go fighting, right? And start fighting angels. Sorry, wait, is this Evangelion now? Yeah, it's kind of Evangelion. You got weird monsters that don't make any sense sort of from the sky that are threatening all the people and all the world around you, and you are granted the power but also the responsibility to fight them off, maybe, if you should choose to step into that role and sacrifice yourself, possibly, or at least sacrifice the unwilling part of yourself in order to become somebody strong. Yeah, that works. That tracks. Unlike Evangelion, there's also a sexual element of like uniting with Iczer. There's definitely an element there of saying yes to the sexual relationship that's represented there, or romantic relationship, however you want to view it. That's represented there, but like, yeah, that tracks. So I can see seeds. Even in this first episode, I see a scattering of really interesting seeds of ideas that will be represented in future anime for decades to come. And that's freaking cool. Oh, welcome. What a cute little morning sequence. What a cute little place. It actually reminds me of like the intro to K-On!, where we open on our main character waking up in the morning and the Seirafuku is up on the wall over there, and there are all sorts of little elements and little cute things, and it's a girl's room. It's a person's room, and it's got personality and it's got thought put into it. The books that are on the shelf and the locations and all the stuff. I don't know who Kikuchi Masanori is, but I'll bet that they're references to interesting things. Just a little late night TV, just up a little bit too late, walk to school. Hey, that's a weird looking person there. I want to stop here. I really like the facial designs. They're dated. They're super dated. And yet, I think they're gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous. I think in a lot of ways, the way that faces used to be drawn looks better than the way faces are drawn now. But it's just super different. Super different stylistic tendencies. Super different shading style. Two tones of shadow. Plus dark black. All the big hair. Lots of interesting like highlight detail in the eyes. Long eyelashes. Puny, teeny, tiny nose and mouth. The mouth is, and this is throughout the show, the lips portion is often like taller than it is wide. Is something that I'm thinking about. It's so interesting to me. I struggle with drawing lips at present. And will continue struggling for a while. So I'm interested in the way that different styles of lips have been drawn. Like Hirohiko Araki of JoJo's draws lips in a one particular way, and lots of anime draw lips in another particular way where they're basically just a line usually, maybe a couple of elements. Different people have all sorts of different styles and different modes of drawing such things, but I really like this little style. I'm just trying to I'm copying it down as I speak. But I'm going to try to remember how this looks and see if I can yoink some portion of it. And then the nose is a little triangle with a little triangle up above. Yeah, that's cool. That's really interesting. It's so tiny. It's so pursed. This much mouth. Like her mouth is less wide than her nose is. Like this much mouth. Super interesting. And of course the eyes are 3 times that size. They're like this big in her face. Lips are like here. Nose is just this much. Yeah, just little tiny bits. Super neat. All right. Big fisheye on the school. Enter into the location. Oh my goodness, this sequence is great. The sequence is great. You look out the window, you see a ball bouncing. It bounces uncomfortably. This reminds me of Paranoia Agent. That's the thing that it clicks for me exactly. But also there are a couple of other shows or sequences where the weird thing hasn't happened yet, and the main character is being like called to something greater, and they start to see odd things happening. Hell, even like Haruhi Suzumiya, weird things start happening and don't make sense until they get explained by the Esper guy, right? Like, things are strange. I love the use of take something that's predictable physics, a ball bouncing, and turn it unpredictable, because the whole world is being inverted. Everything is as it's unexpected. And it shatters the window and you're in a totally different space. I love it. This is a good goopy. It's a good creepy goopy, and I don't like it. Which is to say that it did the thing properly. Chest bursters, aliens, monsters, creepy. Awful. Gross. And yeah, freaking out a little bit, for sure. We do the same thing up here, and they just start swarming in, just a group of girls wearing mask eye things, all slowly walking up to... Super fun. Super fun, super spooky, super cool, superheroes, super powered, super no, hard refusal, and get yoinked, absolutely yoinked into a wall. Into an interdimensional space with lots of horrible monsters. And they're good. They're good, solid, horrible monsters. I like the effect of Iczer popping in. We use the same effect when they get zapped into the mecha a little bit later. These monsters themselves, the fighting looks good. It's sort of choppy. It sort of chops through, but the fighting looks good. The actual monsters themselves, see, they're elements of the way that they look and move that are, like, this portion inside here is genitalia-esque. It's lots of creepy goopy, lots of slithery slidey, Yeah. There's a predatory sexual element to all of these monsters. We get it later when Nagisa's parents turn into tentacle monsters and try to face rape her. Sorry for the phrasing, but that's exactly what happens. Yeah. That's the threat. It's the core threat. Is the sexual purity of our young female protagonist is under threat from evil, horrifying aliens, and it must be stopped by the power of Yuri love. Right. Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly correct. For this kind of storytelling, it makes perfect sense. This shit is wild. Big Gold is this like tiny human-ish alien child inside an orb floating inside a flesh monstrosity wall that just screams. And there's a sound effect where it just like and then whatever this character, it's not Cobalt though, it's Sir whatever, is just like, yes, I understand what you mean, I'm so sorry, that won't happen again, yes, I will bring you your tea. It's so weird, and that's the kind of thing that I love. I love how weird it is. It's super creepy. I would have never thought of it. It's out of left field. That makes it very alien feeling, and that's exciting. It also feels somewhat Ava-esque. It's like, no idea what that monster is and what's going on here. What is the, if you turn to the enemy and they're a big dude sitting on a chair and they go, ha ha, I want more women and gold. You're like, all right, well, we get what's going on here. This is a greedy lecher who wants lots of power. Great. It's a creepy tiny little girl inside a flesh wall. I got no idea what this alien species wants. Super creepy. And we use it as a chance to do some exposition and tell us about the whole Iczer 1 and transformation and merging with the girl thing. Sets everything up for us, and that's great. I think that's great. I also love simple technique. Make your minions scared of their boss. If your minions are scared of their boss, then your players or characters or viewers will be instilled with some of that same fear. Because here's a bad guy, and this bad guy is scared of that person, so I probably should be too. Exactly right. It's like if you're in the woods and you see like an animal running towards you. Your first thought is, oh shit, I gotta run away from that animal, it's gonna eat me, and you start running away from that animal, and it runs past you. Instead of eating you, it runs past you. Your thought changes from, oh shit, I gotta run away from that animal, to, oh shit, what is that animal running away from? There must be something bigger back there. Same thing goes on here. You're like, oh, this one villain is a big problem, I gotta fight that villain. And then the villain is like, oh, I'm so scared of this guy who's above me. It's like, oh shit, that's a bigger problem. I love it. I think it works great. Savisu! So I guess we'll mention it. There's some like upper torso nude breasts. There's some nipples in the show. It doesn't bother me at all. In fact, it's odd. I don't feel like it's very front and center. It's not like it's sexual. It's sexy, I guess, and it's Savisu, but it's not lecherous. It never feels gazy. That's pretty interesting. This shower scene is about as close as we get to feeling gazy to me, where it's like the camera is unconsciously focused on the secondary sexual characteristics of our characters, on like the breasts or the butt or whatever. It doesn't really ever feel like that. The shower scene is about as close as we get to that. And even then, it's in this context of like, what the fuck is going on? And sort of overcoming or like becoming aware of a circumstance. It doesn't bother me at all. And part of that is the timing of the thing and the datedness of the show. But part of it is, I think even in a modern show, I wouldn't be really bothered by the way that these scenes were done. Like some sexual chemistry between Sepia and Cobalto does it sets them up as different from us in one sense. It sets them up as Sepia becoming angry at the end and leading into the next episodes, I assume. And it sets up all sorts of like harder to put into words. It frames the whole thing in an interesting way. as being more personal, but I don't know exactly how to express that. So yeah, I don't mind the sexual content in this episode. I think this is pretty cool. We showed this painting on the wall back here, and there's like cover to it. There's nothing untoward or nude or odd about it. We showed a little bit later, and the person depicted in the painting is topless. It's like an infestation of sexual energy and weird shit is what these aliens bring through. All right, she goes and sleeps with her mom. Everything is great. A battle commences. A battle commences in a weird interdimensional space. Mom? Mama? Mommy? And I need to hear this. Ah! Oh, it even gets me there. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. If right here she turns around and she's a monster, it doesn't scare me. I guarantee you. If she turns around and it's an instant jump scare and that's just a monster face on the mom, it doesn't scare me. Here's what gets me, and this is really interesting to me. What gets me is that we see her real normal face first, right? And so, for me, in my brain, in the milliseconds where this happens, when she turns and we see this smiling, kind eyes and face, my brain goes, oh, okay. Oh, no, everything's fine. Because we're built up to this, right? Mom? Mom? From this moment, everything's exactly the same as the first scene that we saw, where Nagisa walks in here. Everything's exactly the same, and that's creepy on its own, right? She wakes up in a bed and it's empty. That's creepy on its own. But I'm waiting for something wrong here. And then when there's the delay in the response from the mom, immediately something's wrong. We're waiting for something to be wrong here. We're waiting for the creepy show. And so I'm waiting for it. And I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for something that confirms my expectations. My expectations are jump scare. My expectations are something spooky. And so my expectation is, as soon as the character turns around, like turning the page on a manga, you turn the page and there's the monster. There it is. That's what I expected. No worries. I was ready for it. No worries. No sweat. But when she turns around, oh, the delay's so good. She turns around, and my brain goes, oh, goodness. I guess I was just wrong, right? Waiting for the pattern, waiting for the pattern, waiting for the pattern. Oh, I guess the pattern wasn't there. So my brain in that millisecond goes out of the mode of I'm waiting for something scary to happen to, no, everything's all good. It was a false alarm. And in that instant that I go, no, everything is good. It was a monster. Oh, God. Oh, woo! That is a great fucking scare. I'm just gonna say it. I haven't been jump scared in, I think I said weeks when it happened, but months. It's been months since I've been actually jumped. Things will get me to be a little wibbly, will give me like, ugh, that's gross, but to actually get like a stun or a shock there, man, that's tough. That's tough. And it took that little trick to do it. It took showing the mom's face as normal beforehand. It's so great. It reminds you of something that I bring up relatively frequently, which is actually a line in Fate Zero, where he like kills a bunch of children. It's his whole deal. It's his backstory. And he says something about despair tasting the sweetest when it's seasoned with a little bit of hope, right? If you just are in despair all the time, it becomes just nothing. It's just nothing. But if you give the person who's in despair the chance, you make them think they have the chance to escape, that little bit of hope, and they run for it, and then you grab them in that last moment, in that moment of greatest hope, then that makes the despair even sweeter. And this is exactly that. I'm expecting the fear, I'm expecting the jump, and so it wouldn't work on me, but you give me that little bit of hope that it won't happen, and suddenly it works again. It's like spiced right back up, and it's really great. I think the face in response is awesome. Mama? Yeah, mama, papa. Bad juju. The big fight is fun. I do like that rotation. And I also like that crumple as the body hits the floor. Ugh. Spooky monsters. Again, this is threatening. Threatening. Both in like a you're in physical danger, hostagey sort of, you've been grabbed by a monster sort of thing. There's this element of sexual threat that's throughout, and it's I would be wrong if I didn't mention it, because that's part of what's presented here, is that we're putting Nagisa in sexually threatening circumstances repeatedly, and that's meant to evoke some kind of feeling in us. What does it evoke in you? A desire to prevent that, a desire to look away, a hope that Iczer will show up and defeat the monster and prevent the girl from being ravished. Yeah, all of those things. And that's interesting. It's an interesting shortcut, I'd say. And I think we criticize its use as a shortcut pretty frequently. There's a lot of well, I'll put it this way. I think there's a lot of theory and thinking and talking around the storytelling flaw or crutch that is sexual assault, or the use of sexual threat against characters in order to generate some kind of emotional experience in the audience. And I think there are a lot of people who will look at a show and they'll say, well, the bad guy's a bad guy because he's a rapey bad guy. Sword Art Online, there's a lot of criticism of SAO Season 2, for example, that's exactly like this, that just says, well, the villain's a rapey bad guy, and that's all he is. It's all his villainousness is rapiness and bad guy. And I agree, it's thin. And it can be really thin, and it can absolutely be a crutch. But to step back from it and to remember that we're watching a show that's 40 years old, it's really effective. I think it's really effective. You put a character who you've got some level of emotional attachment to into a sexually assaulting sequence, and you put them under gross threat of violation and harm, physical, emotional, psychological, physical, sexual harm, and it does something to my brain. My brain goes, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want that to happen to that character. I want this story to play out in a way that doesn't happen. I want her to be saved from this circumstance. This sucks. That's cool. I mean, maybe that's thin or weird or dumb, but it's interesting that has such a potent response. Because it does have a potent response in me and in a lot of us. And I think that's the reason that it gets used in the same way that jump scares work. This kind of threat works, and it's worked in horror film for forever. And there's something else to it that I think we have to mention, is that there's simultaneously a titillating element to it. Sex and violence are hardwired into us. We're sexual, violent animals, and so there's this compelling nature to that kind of horror, violence, sex trilogy thing, group thing, that has a gravitational pull to it, that has a draw to it. Even if we want, in the end of the story, if we want the good guys to succeed and our characters not to get brutally raped by tentacle monsters, which I think we do. I would rather that they don't, personally. Even if we don't want that, there's something about it that's compelling to us very often. And it's curious. It's part of looking at the darkness of the human spirit to try to look at that kind of stuff and evaluate it and determine for yourself, in your own spirit, in your own heart, in your own mind, what state you're in when you're watching this. Are you watching it in a way that's pure? And I'm not criticizing. To be clear, I'm not criticizing any of these like angles on it. When you watch it, does it make you feel pure-hearted and righteous and like, no, they should not be harming this character? Or is there a part of you that's titillated by it, is almost like cheering for the villains in a weird way? Because there's endless porn in this realm that takes that other tact. And it would be incorrect and unfair to pretend that we as viewers are all righteous and against the violence that's being presented here, because sexual violence produced by like alien monsters and tentacles and stuff like that is super common as a sexual fantasy. And so there's this line that we walk where we're on the side of the right characters in the Iczer one, but we also kind of want to see the sexual violence and the destruction and the murder and stuff, but we want to see it wrapped up in a story where it gets put away, and it's like, no, that's the bad thing to do. What do the righteous heroes do? They do this instead. And that produces a sort of emergent morality. Like, the morality of representation that we get in our media is different from theoretical morality that we generate out of thoughts, and it's different from actualized morality that we generate from watching the actions of other people. What we represent and how it compels us and how it compels the people who create it and how it compels the people who watch it is a fascinating different landscape of moral decision-making and ethics and thought than is the thousands of years of ethical theory that we've got, or the sorts of things that we consider as socially normative. They're separated out, and it's really interesting to me how one set of representations is separated out from the other sets of representations, and how those sets of representations and what is acceptable changes over time. Because it would be, unless you're in like a B movie horror circumstance, that's what this is. B-movie horror in the Western tradition is where you get the scantily clad woman being carried off by the monster, and that's the same idea. Same exact idea, right? Scantily clad woman getting carried off by the thing from the swamp, exactly the same idea as what's presented here. It's something monstrous attacking the purity of a represented feminine, something like that, right? Except in those sorts of circumstances, and even then, it will be looked down upon. It'll be seen as like second-class media, or like lower tier, lower quality, more animal, more base media. It's not proper to have this kind of thing in a popular show. Like, if Netflix made a show that included horrible alien monsters who are trying to rape its protagonists, they'd come under fire immediately. Immediately, it would be a problem. You can't do that in today's social landscape. And that's really interesting to me. At the same time, you can and do represent those kinds of things in pornographic content, and we can and do represent those things in different ways, in much more subtle ways in popular media. So it's really interesting to me to think about how that's evolved and shifted. And, well, the human mind hasn't evolved and shifted much. Certainly in the last 40 years it hasn't. Probably in the last 10,000 years it hasn't. It's been about the same, we think. It's been about the same for quite a while. So what's changed? Normative has changed. Acceptable has changed. But the underlying ideas probably haven't changed. That's interesting and important to keep in mind. Oh, creepy tentacles. Blah. There is an element, it's like the things that are going on in this extra-dimensional space are sort of similar to the things that are going on to Nagisa, so I'm unclear about that. This is good and spooky. I wonder who animated this in particular. It reminds me of some of the sequences that are animated in, I think in Bubblegum Crisis, which might be Obari, because Obari did direct some of the episodes of Bubblegum Crisis. I think there's a scene with like lots of tentacular electronics that are like falling apart. I feel like that was in Bubblegum. This is about the most directly rapey that we get. We get these creepy, goopy tentacles dripping slime toward open mouth, and I think actually one of them does make its way in there. And yeah, there's the painting in the background. Some great noises. You know there are just a couple of voice actors going... Gross. Super gross. Yeah, see, that's straight out of porn. That's just porn. And then the painting has become more creepy and sexual there. Yeah. Zap, boom, bam, saved. Hard cut from there to a loving couple. Oh boy. I don't know if that was the best talk I've ever done about sexual presentation in a show, but it sure did do the thing. I don't even understand this. Stab into it. Your parents are dead and everything's different. Give them back to me. No, you can't. All right, I just want to mention something. This dude right here has the power to overcome this whole circumstance completely. Completely. Let me pull up what's the character's name? Akira characters. Akira characters. Tetsuo. Yeah, that's Tetsuo. He's just right there. Yeah, for real. That's all I have to say is that Tetsuo is right there. He's just chilling right there. All right, we see him a little bit later as well. Giant monster from the sky. Very cool. Pops open. Hey, Nagisa. We gotta fucking go. We got things to do. I don't wanna. You're gonna anyway. We zap out, zap in. I really like the idea of the cool giant plane. It's Fuji 1. It'll save us. Yeah, no, it won't. Just gets absolutely instantly obliterated. I also really like the little spirals of smoke that are on the rockets. I've never seen a group of people more ready to be dead. These, the little twists through them, the little lines, they produce a cool effect to the rockets. All right, and then that explosion is one of the coolest looking explosions that I've seen. Full stop. The use of the red color on the edges instead of like drawing outlined edges is fantastic. I just want to see it. Okay, so painterly blasts. This is all done on cell too, with paint. Goodness, I like and then the darkness inside. The use of blue is striking here. And it's like these blue spirals throughout. It's really striking. It gives a totally unique quality to this explosion. And then each bubble, each like circle of explosion is spiraling in its own way or in its own direction. So it's like it's blooming out from the center in multiple directions. I think that's gorgeous. All right. Totally don't give a fuck about that plane. Big zap from the sky. My alter ego get yoinked up into it. For some reason, one of them has to be nude and the other one doesn't. That's weird. Don't really know. It's got a weird face to it. I don't get what's going on there. And hey, you gotta get to it if you want to avenge your parents' death and prevent similar things from happening. Bam, she's in it. We fight it out. Very bubblegum-ish in some ways. And that brings us to the aftermath. Nagisa has lost both of her parents. But Sepia has lost Kobalto and is going to be very, very pissed about that. Let me see. I've got a couple of timestamps written down. So I've got 1840. This is about where the explosion is. That's what I was looking at there. 1630. Oh, I was just writing down because that guy looks like the guy from Akira. And 1215, the mama scare. Whew, the mama scare is really good. Very cool. Okay, so we come out of the episode. This does the protagonist thing. You don't want to be a part of this. You get sucked into this world anyway. Yeah, you got no choice. Sorry. The narrative has conspired to make you a hero, Nagisa, and so you will fight with Iczer 1 for the salvation of mankind and all of humanity and all of the Earth. Very good. I like the style. I like the character designs. I like the art a lot. I actually find it very pretty. I like the weirdness and the creepiness. I like the monsters. I like some of the reveals. I like the general flow of the thing. It went by really quickly. And often anime from this era, I find plotting. I talked about it in Yotoden repeatedly. I was like, well, this is sort of slow and it's kind of grinding along and it's kind of going. And, oh, there's a cool piece of Sakuga. Never felt like that in this. There's always intrigue going on. And part of that is the weirdness of what's happening. That just ends up being intriguing on its own. But part of it is the presentation and the flow of the thing. And I think it's really quite good. I think it's really quite well put together. Very modern in its expression. And we'll have to see if that gets even more modern as we go through the next episodes and move forward through Iczer 1. I'm super excited to embark on this little three-piece journey. I like these characters. I like the sort of dynamic. I like the weird alien invasion sort of thing. This is very fun, pure anime space with lots of bombast and silliness in some ways. And so I don't have to take it too seriously, but at the same time, there's a lot going on here that's very inspirational and has a lot of relevance to a lot of other shows. So this simultaneously ends up being something that I don't have to take very seriously, and yet I can dig into it and sort of I don't know, sharpen my teeth on, and really chew into, really get a nice bite into, because there's a lot going on here. Very cool. I thank you to all the people who've recommended over the years that I watch Iczer 1. I think I'm going to have a good time with it. So thanks so much for that, and we'll wrap there. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this first episode of this weird show, and we'll be back to it starting next week with episode 2. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week for more Iczer 1 and more Retro Monday OVAdrive into the future. Forgive me for my snurfliness all day, and I'm gonna call it there, start cutting this down and editing it up to get it up and ready for you guys to watch. So, hope you've enjoyed. If you enjoyed and want to support the channel, you can do so via the Patreon. It's linked in the description, and that would be very much appreciated. And I will see you next week for more Tatakae Iczer 1 on Retro Monday OVAdrive. Peace.